For better or worse, sequels need to thread the needle when justifying their mere existence in a way that a standalone game does not. Rareware, then, smartly positioned Donkey Kong Country 2 as the story of Diddy Kong, the underdog. Having played second fiddle to DK a game prior, here was his chance to prove himself. He got to headline his own adventure without any of the perceived baggage that came with the initial outing. Cranky heavily scrutinizes Diddy for performing the role of the hero, forcing him to pay for hints Donkey Kong got for free. Discover that observation from DKC3's strongest soldiers over at Transparency. I better see you over there after this video for the definitive reading. I'm in that video. Watch their Ridge Racer video, you cow. Players who were blown away by Donkey Kong Country would be scrutinizing the game in equal measure. That it managed to overcome the crippling weight of those expectations is impressive in and of itself, but it also set a rather impossible standard. I struggled to envision a world where Donkey Kong Country 3 was ever able to live up to what came before, particularly during an era where the SNES was left in the dust for the industry-changing N64. Not only was it a sequel that could never hope to justify its own existence, it was fated to be passed up in favor of the revolutionary new 3D platformers. I find it admirable, then, just how much DKC3 refuses to carry that weight. It does whatever it wants, expectations be damned, which results in a wild sequel, one that I fucking love. You might expect the third game in a trilogy to follow the roadmap of whatever came before. By the time a third game comes out, there's probably a proven formula to follow, and that's especially the case with this series. In some ways, it does follow convention. Blazing Bazookas is a level all about barrels. You climb past them, jump over them, and chain bounces on them for various secrets. This is the kind of level you'd find in the second game, equipped with a hidden squitter box for good measure. Lemguin Lunge follows a similar philosophy, where jumping on the Lemguin's heads in sequence is key. The bonus barrels all play with the concept in interesting ways, and if you really know what you're doing, you can blaze past everything in seconds. Pothole Panic uses all of your animal buddies in a bit of a relay race, very reminiscent of Animal Antics. I don't think DKC3's attempts to mimic the past are terribly successful. Levels like Tearaway Toboggan are perfectly fun, but they don't play with the concept of a minecart level in the same way that DKC2's amusement park did. Levels like these can feel like they're bowing to tradition, as if they're only here out of obligation. No, the truly successful levels in the third game aren't built like you'd expect. Donkey Kong Country 2 is tough. The further you get, the more unforgiving it becomes. I'm usually pretty drained at the end of a full completion playthrough, which makes sense as Diddy's mission is to go above and beyond. To become a video game hero, you need to phase through seemingly solid walls and time end-of-level targets for DK coins in a set of levels that are damn hard enough on their own. You can cut the tension with a knife, growing thicker with each new level as you climb higher and higher to Captain K. Rool. Donkey Kong Country 3 relaxes a little bit. Every level is guaranteed to have 2 bonus barrels and a DK coin. Those coins are held by coin enemies and ask you to solve a series of barrel puzzles. Usually they're pretty simple to find, making the puzzle itself the real challenge. For a few of the trickier ones, I'd sit back for a minute and try to piece together the solution. Banana coins in DKC2 were well hidden, but there wasn't much reason to go after them for anything besides hints or extra lives. They're a resource you only use when you're not yet at the level of a video game hero, and need some guidance to get there. Bear coins are littered throughout the levels in the same way banana coins were, but you have a reason to route them into your search, since 60 of them are required for a Brothers Bear side quest. You're encouraged to poke and prod at these levels for everything they have to offer, not to impress anyone, but simply to be a thorough treasure hunter. Levels become something more with every new bear coin you discover. It's notable to me that this is the only DKC that doesn't offer bonus barrel hints. Sniffing out secrets is a skill worth cultivating just as much as your platforming ability. It's something the game is confident you can figure out on your own. You'll have much more success in these levels if you take a breath and go with the flow. I can't really think of a level like Squeals on Wheels existing in either of the previous games. Hunting down mice to open a door that you wrap back around to is a curiously objective focus design. It's the same with Fish Food Frenzy, where a Nibbler looms over Dixie and Kitty, threatening to eat them unless you feed it fish. You need to guide it towards the correct fish rather than the urchins, which will accelerate its anger. Barrel Drop Bounce is a rather dynamic level, where platforms fall from the tops of waterfalls. It's a level so reliant on its sequencing that messing anything up means you'll have to sit back and wait for another cycle. But that's okay with me, since it's a level I want to explore anyway. DKC3 is keen to mess with your expectations. Low G Labyrinth thrusts moon gravity onto you, forcing you to commit to your jumps in a way no other level has ever required. Poisonous Pipeline reverses your swimming controls, turning the instincts you've honed against you. How about a level where ghost barrels phase in and out of existence, or one where lightning threatens to kill you every couple seconds? DKC3 has a playful energy that only a character like Dixie would be able to comfortably champion. She was already part of a bigger adventure, one she tackled with unflinching courage. She was certainly the more useful Kong in 2. Players relied on her for help through the game's grueling challenges due to her immensely helpful hair twirl move. Despite it being Diddy's adventure, Dixie always made more of an impression on me in a way I could never quite describe until playing 3. The first thing she does here is ask Wrinkly where the Lost World is, and she roasts the fuck out of K. Rulenstein. Almost makes me feel bad for the dude. Like the players who pick up the third entry, there's a sense that Dixie has been there, done that. She's not here for drama. She's here to have a good time. That infectious bravado can't help but rub off on everyone around her. There's a sense that Dixie is playing the role of a protector. She's looking after her baby cousin, helping the brothers bear, and saving the captive banana birds. Ellie and Perry, the 2 new animal buddies, are probably the least helpful new additions to your roster. Ellie's deathly afraid of mice, while Perry can't seem to go anywhere without your guidance. Rambi was a much more traditionally helpful buddy to come across, since he felt tailor-made to mow through the Kremlin crew with vicious efficiency. Levels that focus on Ellie can't help but highlight her weaknesses. Murky Mill may as well be a puzzle platformer, where you need to figure out a way to overcome her fear of mice by throwing barrels from afar or timing jumps so that the mice aren't in the spotlight. Gradually, her levels begin to showcase more of her strengths, introducing her water gun ability and having her use it in a boss fight. Perry is a buddy you constantly have to work around. Wherever you move, he moves. Wherever you jump, he jumps. It can be an arduous task to get him to the end of a level safely, but in exchange, he can gobble up all kinds of collectibles in high places you couldn't otherwise reach. I love that Perry and Ellie take center stage in one of the most hectic levels of Krematoa, putting both of their weaknesses on display. Ellie's running at full speed away from a horde of mice, with Perry following above her, so you need to keep them both safe to unlock the level's final bonus barrel. Now this is a meaningful twist on the minecart level. Overcoming weakness in DKC3 and the satisfaction found therein is as fundamental a theme as Diddy's quest to become a video game hero. This is why they've rehabilitated Quawks, arguably the most ill-fitting animal buddy in the second game. In a quest that had Rambi, OnGuard, Rattly, and Squawks doing so much more interesting stuff than Quawks, it always makes me dread getting to Parrot Shoot Panic and having to ferry him through nearly pixel-perfect obstacles. He has more of a chance to shine in the third game, as he can now pick up barrels. Throwing barrels in between enemies or using them as shields to protect Quawks, who lacks Squawks' offensive capabilities, is really satisfying in levels like Low G Labyrinth and Buzzer Barrage. It's possible to rip through them at high speed if you master his flight. Squidder's best level, Crackshot Croc, actively targets his vulnerabilities. His levels were some of my favorites in the second game, as he was able to effortlessly mow through enemies from a distance while breaking levels wide open and traveling essentially wherever. Crackshot Croc has a sniper shooting at you every couple seconds, forcing you to make some really awkward decisions with his web platforms. It's interesting how much more stressful his playstyle becomes when he's given this much resistance. There's a similar moment in Creepy Caverns where you have to maneuver your web platforms through the ghost barrels. I don't care how good you are at using Squidder, I am certain this bonus barrel has given you trouble at least once, You can even see this theme surface through everybody's favorite baby. Kitty is much heavier than Diddy, meaning Dixie can't throw him very far. You'll need to switch between the two far more often than in the second game, but that's because Kitty has a unique set of strengths. You might not be able to throw him nearly as high, but his weight will break open the floor for various secrets. Now, yes, I do not think they get as much use out of this as they might have intended. I can count the amount of times I actually did this on one hand. You can also ride on him, which is cool, but I could not tell you a single time where this would have come in handy. An ability that I do find myself using a fair bit is the water bounce. Coming to grips with Kitty means you'll be able to exploit this move to rip through levels with water in them very quickly. Just so happens there are a fair few levels with little pools of water in them. Riverside Race makes great use of this for a bonus barrel and DK coin. Since you already need Kitty to reach these secrets, you might as well use his water bounce on all the patches of water to keep up your flow. Beating the level's record is necessary for a banana bird after all. I challenge myself to get the secrets and beat the best time all in a single shot whenever I get to this level, and that requires a firm grasp on what makes Kitty uniquely fun. In that sense, the third game feels like it runs wild, with mechanical ideas only lightly touched on by the second game. Levels with the waterfall theme feel like a riff on the mineshaft levels, this time focusing on foreground and background exploration to give the waterfalls more of a three-dimensional texture. Rocket Barrel Ride is one of my favorite levels in the trilogy, hiding secrets almost everywhere you might think to look. Ripsaw Rage and Kong-fused Cliffs are variations on Castle Crush, this time with a lot more to do on the player's end in terms of searching for secrets and platforming. Ripsaw Rage could have been another tree level. The saw at the bottom simply adds some spice to it. It has a keen sense of what worked about the second game, but it isn't willing to become a copy of it. There are some fun, out there ideas it wants to explore to set itself apart. The final level of Krematoa is nothing like the series has seen before, as you carefully maneuver a rocket ship through a series of gaps in the rock. One wrong move and you're probably dead. It's surprising to have such a straightforward challenge in a game so focused on puzzles and exploration, but I think that's part of what makes it so special. It isn't content to do what DKC2 did and call it a day, it's greedier than that. Donkey Kong Country 3 does a lot of work to establish its own identity. Donkey Kong Country's levels were unified by nature. That was part of the reason it was called Donkey Kong Country. Jungles, treetops, ancient ruins, caves, and snowy mountains. As you moved further into the island, you'd see a lot more caves and factories, leaving behind the lush jungle surrounding your home. The second game is much more loose with its Crocodile Isle. In an effort to make each level stand out, the biomes you explore are more varied. You move from a pirate ship to the inside of a volcano, to a haunted swamp, to an amusement park, and to a beehive. Mind you, this is not a criticism of the second game. It says a lot that the Kremlings have such an eclectic home base, and it is the perfect spot for Captain K. Rool, a more unhinged evolution of his original persona, far more at home on his batshit island. What you'll notice immediately about Donkey Kong Country 3 is how much more laid back it is. The Kremlings haven't taken over your island, nor are you in the heart of enemy territory. The northern Kremisphere is a welcoming location you're free to explore of your own volition. Rather than a glorified level select that only goes in a single direction, Dixie is free to spread her legs a little. There's even a point at which you can pick between two different worlds. That you have the freedom to choose is a marked contrast to the gauntlets of the first two games. Dixie's only here because she wants to find DK and Diddy. There isn't even a guarantee that anything nefarious is happening. Perhaps they just got trapped in a cave while they were spelunking. Whatever the case, you're here to uncover the mystery. Your save file is represented by a VHS tape that you record your adventure on, and the end credits comes in the form of a scrapbook Dixie puts together with pictures of all the enemies and characters she meets. The Kongs, alongside the brothers Bear, are all just hanging out in this wonderful analog to the Canadian wilderness. Funky has the free time to build you hovercrafts, Cranky's off gambling away at Swanky's, and Wrinkly's hanging out in her gamer cave. Wrinkly assuming Cranky's position means that his usual snark is mostly absent. Instead, you check in with Wrinkly every once in a while, who's happy to let you save and give a home to all the banana birds you collect. I love that you can walk in on her in the middle of Mario 64, that occasionally she'll have fallen asleep. She exudes retired grandma energy. Retirement's a theme they toy with here too. The epic adventure of the second game is over. We are in the twilight years after that loud and proud mission, with no clear direction in mind. DKC3 dares to open with a jolly jaunt through wooden piers, log cabins, and sawmills. The music here is initially carefree, setting the tone for something slightly more adventurous. I grew up in Michigan and would often go up north for easy vacations. We'd rent log cabins, make bonfires, and canoe down rivers. In some ways, this is the DKC title that's the most direct portal into my childhood, and it perfectly captures how mysterious those places were. Frosty Frolics represents my love of Michigan winters at the impossible intersection of foreboding and comforting. Treetop Tumble reminds me of one of my favorite hiking trails, with an understated melody accompanied by the sound of the wind. Waterworld delights in the unknown, a mix of excitement and apprehension as you wade through the abyss. The level progression of the northern Cremisphere is at once more inviting and more sinister. You're exploring this whimsical countryside full of talking bears and natural wonders, but there's this creeping sense of dread that's difficult to place. Something is wrong here. Mekanos is home to derelict factories connected to toxic drain pipes deep in the dimly lit forest. The music gains a more metallic edge, introducing several electric guitar riffs into a decidedly more threatening track. Bramble explains that flowers used to grow more frequently before the machines entered the Cremisphere. The influence of the Kremlings simmers in the background, threatening to swallow up this unassuming paradise. This unsettling atmosphere is threaded together by Evelyn Novakovic's score, so much less in your face than Wise's style. Her work on the first game included tracks like Voices of the Temple, Treetop Rock, Ice Cave Chant, and Northern Hemisphere. She contributed a lot to that game's decidedly darker moments, so it's fun to see her helm her own project. It's also unfortunate how much David Wise's work has seemingly overshadowed her efforts. Wise has become the face of the series' sound profile thanks to his legendary score for the second game. I'd argue the one song, Sticker Brush Symphony, is enough to blow the rest of his own collection of bangers out of the water. What goes a little underappreciated is how perfect this score is for Donkey Kong Country 2. Sticker Brush Symphony might be an incredible song in isolation, but you don't hear it that way. It is a hopeful track in a level with no hope, surrounded by brambles shooting out into the blue hue of the endless horizon. Hothead Bop weaves this inspiring melody while you constantly hover over lava, one wrong jump away from death. Mining Melancholy is a concert of pickaxes underscoring your treacherous climb up the mine shaft. Even Flight of the Zinger, a track which takes on a more frantic tone, seeing as you're inside a fucking hornet hole, my worst goddamn nightmare, still manages to include a section that sticks by you. I adore his style with all of my heart, and I think it would have been a bad fit for what DKC3 was going for. Hell, I don't even have to imagine what it would have been like. Wise had to recreate the third game's soundtrack for the GBA remake since he felt the system wasn't able to do Evelyn's work justice. Having listened to it and enjoyed it in its own right, I cannot understand the mindset that this is somehow better than the SNES soundtrack. It's often catchier and bolder than Novakovic's work, that much is certainly true. It's a flesh and blood David Wise soundtrack, despite it feeling like he was fighting against the GBA's sound font. But in what way does this serve a reserved adventure past its prime, with evil creeping in the shadows? A remix of aquatic ambiance might be fun to listen to, but I do not think it quite captures the foreboding spirit of Waterworld. Northern Cremisphere sounds like a beach vacation destination rather than a mysterious island full of secrets to unravel. Treetop Tumble's an upbeat tune that sounds nothing like the ominous treetops that stretch into infinity. Cascade Capers is one of his best songs on the GBA score. It's so impossibly hopeful and catchy in the way that Wise's work is at its best, but this level doesn't feel the same without the sounds of the waterfall slowly bleeding into a far more subdued melody. Donkey Kong Country 3 is not trying to be Donkey Kong Country 2, and I think that simple truth is at the heart of a lot of anxiety regarding it. Comparison is the thief of joy, it's often said, and for such a common adage, we can't really help but compare, can we? That's why everything gets put under this microscope, with the second game as the only reference slide. That seems to be why everyone hates Kiddy. I suppose the baby hero was a step too far for a lot of people, but I'm gonna be real. If you don't think Kiddy Kong is funny, I don't trust you. It is objectively hilarious that you can surmount any challenge in this game using a toddler. That Kiddy Kong, a baby, can do everything DK did and more. The game overscreens one of the funniest things I've ever seen in a video game, and I savor the chance to fight K. Rulenstein with him so that I can watch him plop onto the ground and kick his feet around like a little doof during the monologue. Fun fact about me, I love Spider-Man 3. It's my favorite one. I don't love it ironically, I'm not solely here to laugh at it. I love it for being unapologetically itself. It's a movie that wants to have it all the villains, all the drama, and all the camp. It doesn't care if a movie should have this much going on, it just does. And it's such a fun movie. It's the most fun I've ever had with a Spider-Man movie, and probably most superhero movies. It doesn't hit me in the same way that Spider-Man 2 does, I guess. But who the fuck cares if it's like Spider-Man 2? Why has that movie automatically become the only answer to the question of what makes a good Spider-Man movie? Why not both? I've seen people make fun of the 103% ending for the third game. Full completion in the second game has you punch K. Rool into a nuclear reactor thing, and then the three Kongs get to watch him blow up at sunset from the safety of their island. It's an iconic shot, and I love it. In 3, your adventure isn't over after defeating K. Rool a second time, since pure platforming has never been what this game was about. We have retired that epic spirit of the second game. You aren't here to prove yourself as a hero. Dixie already did that. Let's have some fun this time. You build a helicopter, fly around looking for the rest of the banana birds, you meet God, and they drop a huge egg on them. The end. This is a full circle moment for the idea of completion. 101% completion in the original felt like a bit of a joke. It was very clear that you were not intended to go after everything. Bonus rooms were repetitive and only seemed to exist to get more lives. Cranky roasts you if you don't find everything, but he's also an out-of-touch old dude. Wanna pull your hair out finding the 5 bonus rooms in Orangutan Gang? Or somehow discover that you have to roll single bananas in Fear Factory and blow open the wall while you are in the air to unlock another one, all to make this bitter old dude happy? Alright, you can do that. He'll acknowledge it. Very briefly. Isn't it fitting that 3 follows the second game's blueprint, setting up the pieces for a similarly climactic ending, only for it to be the punchline for a joke at your expense? Not in a malicious way, it still feels good to go after everything. The third game simply isn't interested in rewarding you with a fuzzy feeling inside. Instead, it wants to take the piss a little. I think that's funny. I do not want another Donkey Kong Country 2 because I can play that game whenever I want. If it's such a fantastic platformer, there's really no need to try to one-up the things it was doing. Why not blast off in another direction? Pick up some ideas it left behind and experiment. I can't get these oddly specific things from the second game. I can't run around looking for banana birds or unlock the bonus world by looping around a set of rocks. It's the most chill country game and the one I replay the most. Donkey Kong Country 3 is a curious specimen begging to be dissected. It's a game for freaks. I guess you can call me a freak.